Hit the button. Recording the thing. Already have one dropped frame. Congratulations, that one drop frame. Die alone. Cool. It is Sunday, July 18th, 2021, and you are listening to the Irrational Passions Podcast, episode 500. I'm Alex Eniol, joined this week by Scott Cauthier.
Hello.
At some point, maybe Tony Horvath. And also, once again, 2 weeks in a row, or 2 episodes in a row, I should say, Brian Nabeshin Jackson.
Am boning.
That's what you came up with in the.
I didn't know what to come up with last my girlfriend.
What do
You
you
said that,
got?
I'm like,
Ham
okay.
boning.
Yeah,
They're
that's what she said.
they're hamming up and they're boning.
Happy 500, everybody. Yeah, that's the thing you get for 500 episodes. Is just
That's actually
an off-colored one.
an off-color boning joke. Honestly, that's not bad. That's not a bad rate. We don't record every week anymore, but the 11th anniversary of Irrational Passions podcast is come and gone. July 3rd. Happy anniversary, boys. And Tony as well. He said he would be here, so he might just be a little delayed. Always give folks the chance to jump in. But until Tony gets here, we're just going to chill out, talk about video games, have a good time, do the usual thing. I don't have the mental capacity to do like a call-in show. God, remember, we used to do that every 50 episodes. Where anybody could just call us. I have so many people I don't want to call me now. that like, what a terrible idea that would be.
But you know, I think reflectively, both you, at least you and Scott, being here for most of it, I think you guys should like do a little reflection, a little thinking about the last 11 years, where you were then, where you are now. So
we are the two OGs of everyone. We've been here since episode 1. Evan's not even here anymore. Although Evan's fine. Did you guys know that Evan like moderates for Rob from Game Crashers? He like is just like a huge tentpole in his community. I'm like, wow, what a wonderful.
No offense to Rob, but I didn't know Game Crashers was still a thing. So.
Yeah,
no offense to him, but
basically
I
just
know.
him at this point. He's
okay.
It's just Game Crashers Rob, Dark Side Rob, which is funny just because he's kind of like the impetus for all this. How do you feel, Scott? Is there any 11 years later? We started this in 2010. You were going into your senior year of high school, as was myself.
Mm-hmm.
We are completely different human beings now. It's easy to say, but how do you feel?
I'm gonna be completely honest.
Yeah.
Most of it's a blank. Don't remember.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta just burn through, black it out. You're not gonna remember it the day after.
Yeah, at this point, I can't tell. Am I a different person? I don't remember.
For sure. I can tell you, as the guy that re-listened to every podcast and edited it. You know, I would say like a thing I always think about, like when Scott's talking on the podcast, is like how much more eloquent he is now versus, no offense, but we've all come a long way. God, I sounded so emotionless at the beginning of this podcast. I used to just talk in a normal flat tone and did not inflect my voice at all. And I think we all kind of did
I'm pretty
that.
sure I was worse with that too.
Yeah, and like just kind of coming into your own as far as like holding down a microphone. It's fun.
Mm-hmm.
As for like, I feel like the thing I've been thinking about recently is like how much my taste in video games has like completely changed. It's not like changed. I like a lot of the same kinds of video games, but I
would say you branched out more.
Yeah, I'm like.
I don't think it's changed much because from the outside looking in, you still very much so prefer your single player games.
Yeah, for sure.
But from the outside world giving you games, they've given you a lot less single player games to work with.
Mm-hmm. And like learning to appreciate like stuff like Destiny, which is like around the beginning of the podcast. Even when Destiny first came out, because this podcast existed then in 2014, I remember when I played that beta, I talked about it on here how it just did not seem like my thing. And at the time that was very true, but now like the core loop of Destiny, like grinding materials, masterworking your weapons, like all the stuff that was like what a lot of people were not very into in the original Destiny, which is still there and has gotten considerably better. But like I'm into that now, which is cool.
I mean, in a lot of these games' cases, that's pretty much the truth for every single one of those releases that come out.
Yeah.
A lot of people, when they get into this as the first time going in, they buy into the potential of the game.
Yeah.
Not what the game is right now.
Yeah.
And so that's how a lot of people, that's basically how all early adopters to the games as a service genres go.
And that's like all happen. That has become into existence throughout the history of this podcast. Isn't that fucking crazy to think about? Like,
yeah,
early access did not exist in 2010, and now it's like a tentpole of the video game industry. It is like so many people use it to fund their games, to make their games better, to become a games as a service. It's crazy.
Right.
That is like how much the video game industry has changed is like a considerable thing.
Like even like as far as you guys, as far as your tasting games, like I think at the beginning Scott was a full on console gamer. I don't know how PC centric he was at the time, but now
you hadn't gotten like your PC rig yet, but you were on your way.
I was.
You were playing League of Legends.
I was well on my way because I was playing. It wasn't just League; it was Binding of Isaac was coming out. Minecraft. I was on board.
Minecraft was a big one
with Minecraft, but I didn't know how I felt buying it because, like, as same as then as is now. If my Minecraft experience was a single player experience, I wouldn't have gotten it. Never would have played it.
Yeah.
The multiplayer experience, on the other hand, is what made the game. So when I basically got my roots in that first Minecraft community, that this effectively sold me on that game.
Yeah. And honestly, like, I feel like that Minecraft and how a lot of communities spread it up around that, like, informed how a lot of early access and games as a service games would, like, go community-wise. Yeah, man. Talk about a crazy influential game that, like, also... I remember when I heard about it on this podcast, I had no fucking idea what it was. And now it's, like... It is so big that it's, like, beyond video games. It's like Disney. That's where Minecraft is. It's like, nope, it's gone.
Yeah.
It's in the...
I would say at the time, I also was trying to get into the Half-Life section of things. But after starting the game, and I realized that the game itself, it wasn't for me.
Sure, yeah.
And then... most of the games that because it's weird because Alex is affected by the lack of single player games in a very similar way to the way I'm affected by them. The games it seems like they've cut out are the games that I would have wanted.
Yeah. It's very true. But like, there's different eras of Tony and Scott for me, and all of us. I don't know, I guess, like what I was doing at the time because I'm just sitting here listening. But like, there's the beginning, and then the gaming laptop era when you guys were in college, like the 2012 to 2014 era, and then you like built your first PCs, and now I think we're in like the second PC era.
We're nearing that.
Yeah. At some point, Scott's gonna sell me his PC, and then I will have his old PC.
If only I could buy the parts to build.
I know. If only there were chips in existence that anyone could buy.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Even your tasting games, Alex, I think, has changed.
Yeah. I think like you said, Scott, I've branched out a lot. I've tried a lot of stuff because of you guys. Like Undertale is a game I would have never played without you guys, and I'm so glad I did.
I think so, but I also think that
I would have played when it came to consoles eventually, but I wouldn't have played needed to play at the time like you guys told me to. I'm glad I did. I'm glad I didn't wait on it.
Yeah, but I mean, like I honestly think that if Undertale came out in the Game Boy era, that's probably a game that would have reached you.
Yeah,
and you'd have been like, "Hey, listen,
it'd been like a GBA game.
There's this GBA game that slaps. You gotta play."
Yeah, absolutely. You're so right. That is absolutely true.
Yeah, because it really wasn't the game; it was just the platform it was on that was like the barrier. Because that's the same with me. Like I wouldn't even touched it. Like Scott and Tony didn't mention it and say I needed to play it. So
yeah,
right, and
that's true of a lot of games. Still,
for the most part, those style of games moved over to the PC.
Yeah,
and the shovelware, I want to call it AAA shovelware versus the indie games that came out or the smaller games that come out have been less and less on the consoles.
Yeah, now shovelware is like those $1 to $10 anime like dating sim / anything in that spectrum.
basically mobile games.
Yeah, but like weird. Yeah, basically mobile games that are just like all over the PSN and Xbox and Switch store, especially the Switch store. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And Steam. I mean, to be fair, it's there too. It's everywhere. And they're just like it now is like this. It feels like advertisements, like the wave that you just have to kind of like avoid your eyes, like put it on the corner of your screen and try and push away. Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, I would say like taste wise, I now like also I feel like I like less video games now, or less genres of video games now, which isn't to say that I wouldn't still try anything now, but I like right now where I'm at in my life, 28 years old, I like know what I like. And to be fair, I've been thinking a lot of like my current like feeling, because let me tell y'all, sometimes I am just struggling to enjoy literally anything some days. And I'm not saying that like to make light of it. Obviously it's a real struggle, but like, you know, that is like the severity of the edge. So I understand that like some of where I'm at right now is like just where I'm at right now. And in 2 years I'm going to feel very differently. But like what's cool is that it is documented here, you know, in a cool way. Like I've definitely gone back and been like, man, I remember when I first played Arkham Knight. Like, how did I feel about that? And then I go and listen to the podcast, because I don't want to know how I felt after I had finished it. I want to know how I felt in the thick of it. Yeah, like, because that is like a one kind of it is kind of a one time, you're only ever there once feeling. Like my rant about Final Fantasy VII Remake. Like, I was very frustrated with that game the first time I played it, and then the more I played it, the more it like indoctrinated me to. It's ridiculous, and now like I love it. I'm like fully all on board. But that one time, you're gonna get that rant, and you're not gonna get that rant anywhere else. And everybody in the Irrational Passion Slack like listened to it and kept playing it back and me. So yeah, I feel like there's like a cool time capsule effect of these episodes. Anything about you, Nabeshin? I know you've only been like here for like what 9 years technically, but
yeah. As far as my taste, from when I started to where I'm at now, like the only thing that really expanded really was like
dude, you're a PC bitch now. You're all on the PC talking about mods and how Mass Effect 2 is better on PC than it is in this Legendary Edition, shaking your fists at the youngsters. Scott and Tony have ruined you.
I wouldn't go that far,
You're
but
a different man. You betrayed. No, I'm just kidding.
Because I'm still not in it like I should be. Like I'm pretty much at where Tony and Scott were at like 2010 or whatever. As far as like PC, and like you know, like when eventually I get into VR and or wherever else, you know, like Tony will have like a fucking microchip in his head or something like that, and then I have to adjust to that.
So right. No, Tony will like have uploaded his brain to the system at that, but he's like done with flesh.
Like he's beyond us. He's like Jake at the at the end of Adventure Time, just transcendent life.
Yeah,
it's like
he's an ethereal being by that point.
But yeah, like you, Alex. Like I'm pretty much at a point now where I like what I like. I'm not so much.
You've been at there for a little bit longer than me, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, and like but at the same time, like I feel like I don't need to play everything anymore. There was like a real pressure for me doing that. I put on myself, obviously.
Me too. Yeah.
Around like maybe like 2019, 2018, where I felt like I had to play everything. I had to play Days Gone. I had to play. I had felt the need to like to at least try everything, so I could at least have an opinion on it or be like in the know or just know about it, just like I could say something about it. And now like now you don't I'm at a point now. Yeah. But there's still a point where it's like I feel like I need to like try something or like I want to experience something. But then there's like stuff where it's like if I don't do it this week or if I don't do it like in like this time period, then like it's just gonna be gone. Like that's more of the Scarlet Nexus was for me. Like I wanted to like see that game and give it a try, but like I don't even know the review scores for that game. But you're gonna talk about it this week, which is good. But like
It's a weird, like it's just a weird game, dude.
Yeah, it's just like something was like completely passed by me. But like there's something like there's still moments and there's very choice moments that I have to make now because like I'm like at a house, I got a job, I got a girlfriend, I gotta like focus all these things and like put what's more important to me first before I even think about video games at this point. But like there are still certain events for me like I played the demo for The World Ends With You, Neo The World Ends With You, so like I got to get a grasp of what that game is now, and like I'm actually excited for that, and like No More Heroes 3. But like after like those two games, I'm like I don't know what to look for, and maybe that's a good thing because like maybe I don't need to be waiting for the next release and like figuring out where I want to put my money towards and stuff like that. Maybe I don't need to buy like 5 games at once and like decide when I want to play them because I'm not going to play all of them. I just don't have time for that anymore.
I think like when you're at that point of like I don't know what I want to play anymore, that is when you can sometimes like stumble on like the most impactful video games that you can play in a weird way. Like I remember like when because being in chronic fatigue zone that I am again, bringing me back to the last time in my life or the first time in my life that happened. In 2009, which is when I ended up playing Persona 3, and I remember it was very much the feeling of like I've replayed all of these games that I have, and I'm like now going to my brother's room and looking at his stash of like old ass PS2 games. I'm like, there's got to be something I got to try here, and I see Persona 3, and I remember watching the cheat episode about it on G4 and being like, I should try this, and like that decision changed the course of my life as far as I'm concerned. So like and recently even like I was having like a moment of like and then I was like finally all right, I'll try Trails of Cold Steel. And it's like all right, yeah, this was a good decision. Finally
nice.
Somebody made like a good decision around here. So yeah, like I totally understand, and sometimes those moments can be pivotal as well. But yeah, I think like with all that said, let's actually talk about video games. How's that sound? Like we do around here. I want to talk about video games first because I got some video games. And I promised Nabeshin I won't droll on about Final Fantasy VII Remake so much that you have to leave the call. It's very good though. Let me tell you, dude, it's great. 60 frames per second. It's great. So I played some video games. Scarlet Nexus. Let's just talk about it right out the gate. This is a video game. By Namco Bandai, by one of their other teams. I think like a few of the team members, I don't know specifically, but I know some of the team members are from Tales of Vesperia team. So like there was some pedigree here. I've had my eyes on it for a long time. Not really sure what the deal is going in, but I'm like, hey, I'll give it a shot. Basically, it's a JRPG. Have you guys heard of this? Very anime. But it's very like a traditional action JRPG, so honestly, like the thing I would compare it to is like some like not like Devil May Cry, because as far as I know, Devil May Cry doesn't have like skill trees. You just like buy skills, but something of like that era, like a behind the back third person action game of that era of like the PS3 era, in like its approach, not the execution. I think it's executing on much better, but like it's a very like normal skill tree where it's like you get level up points, you move up in a skill tree, and how you progress kind of feels a lot like those games.
This for a quick comparison, so I can like get a better understanding. Is it something like Darksiders maybe, or
Darksiders is actually a good comparison? Yeah.
Okay.
Because like it doesn't necessarily have like the dungeon factor, but like very much that kind of like you're not in that game. You're buying skills as well, but like you're branching out from skills and kind of upgrading them. So yeah, I would say putting that
in Prince of Persia.
Yeah, Prince of Persia as well. Like again, like the skill tree is kind of like the only thing I'm getting hung up here. But like you're in the right ballpark of like satisfying the feeling, kind of like good hits, behind the back third person action. That's like just the base of it, but it layers a lot of cool stuff on top there. I like so in Scarlet Nexus you can choose as a lady protagonist or a male protagonist. They are actually two separate characters, Yuito and Kasane, and they have two separate story campaigns. And they're different, you know, like they basically go to different things and then eventually kind of come together at the end. And I wasn't really sure how like different things would be. There's definitely a point where you're like, oh, this is very different. These people go to very different directions. Without spoiling anything, like there's like a lot of tension that they build. Like when you're, because I played the game as Yuito for the first time because I played the demo. I was like, oh yeah, the sword play I think is a little bit more fun early on. And they build tension between Kasane. You fight her frequently in the story. And they build up like this kind of mystery as to why she's against you. I'll tell you what, man. When I found out, I was like, I did not see that coming. You're right. That's a pretty valid reason for wanting to fight me. I don't know what I would say or do in a situation where you said that to me. So it was like the only time in an anime trope where they're like, I couldn't tell you why I had to kill you. And I was like, no, you're right. Actually, that was a really good excuse. And I don't have anything to say to you. It's like the first time that's ever happened to me. I was very, very surprised. But like that's the idea. You know, you basically get a squad, you get your main character, and they'll have kind of their own predetermined group of 4 squad members based on who you choose. And each of those squad members has like a different ability that you're going to be pulling from. The other character that you choose gets the other 4. Eventually, you're going to get access to all 8 party members and kind of have a full team, and it's very cool when you get there. But the whole kind of idea of it is you are a psychokinetic person, so you can use telekinesis, throw objects with your mind, and you're using that in combos and stuff. But you can also use like this. It's very cyberpunk. Everything is super cyberpunk, so you can like link your brain to one of your other teammates and like use their psionic power. So like maybe somebody has pyrokinesis, so now your attacks have fire elements, and you're using your telekinesis. And then eventually, you're linking with up to 4 different people at the same time and using 4 different powers in conjunction with your own. It's really, honestly, like by the end of it, I was very impressed with how like a very basic third-person action game structure became so interesting and complex, and like how many different abilities you could combine, and how like they would give you all these different things that you could do at any given moment in combat. Like, you know, the clairvoyance ability makes it so that way if you perfect dodge an attack, you can like do a super attack. Like you can attack them back. You can counter very strongly. And if you do that with pyrokinesis and with sclerokinesis, which makes you like invulnerable, you can like brute force your way through abilities and do like massive damage, stuff like that. Like you just kind of learn to mix and match the powers and do some really cool stuff by the end of the game. I will say like the most interesting thing like about it is the story, just because I feel like JRPG stories are always buck wild. And like I said, kind of like with the reveal of this tension, there's some cool reveals there. It has the Tales of the Abyss effect, where I'm like, okay, I'm interested at the beginning, and I'm like, I really don't really like anything going on. I don't love these characters, and it kind of keeps going for a while, and then something happens, and then it gets a lot better, and then it just progressively gets better until the end of the game. So like, if anyone out there is playing it and they're like, "Phew, I don't know if I'm into this," I'd say there's definitely a turning point where I started to get more and more into it, and things started to make sense. And I will say, to its credit, that the characters are very well written, and it doesn't like depend there. As far as I remember, there is no like anime trope where a guy like touches a girl in an inappropriate way, and then they have to like deal with that. Like that doesn't happen. And I'm playing another game where that happened immediately, and I'm like, oh yeah, video games and anime are terrible sometimes. And so like, to Scarlet Nexus's credit, it like passes the Bechdel test, you know, like it ends up like having pretty well written characters that are interesting, and like, even if they're doing stuff that you don't agree with, they're written in a way where at least they're talking about it and they're kind of acknowledging it, and then eventually they're going to come back around to it. So yeah, it's cool. It's ended up being a really cool game. I don't know if I'm going to play through all the way through Kasane's story. She gets to see some wild stuff on her playthrough, So I would kind of want to see that, but I don't know. We'll see. But I was really impressed with it. I just want to say, like, the merits of it, but also, like, if you're playing it, you should keep going if you're kind of feeling the... If you're like, I feel like something here could be really cool, but I don't know. I promise it gets better. That's all I'll say.
How does it look in general? Because like, I know that there's been Berseria in like this area, but like does it look significantly better? I guess you would say
It looks excellent. I'm gonna say honestly. Well, I mean, it runs very well. It just being basically a PS4 game, Xbox One game that's running on a Series X, but it does this really, like, the art style is great. I'd say, like, you know, they do like this kind of comic book cutout cutscene style that, like, as opposed to just showing the characters talking, which I'm always like, why don't you just show the characters talking?
Why don't you try and properly pan a scene, please?
Yeah, and I get it. It's usually like it's budget. It's always like money constraints, because then you'll get like these like action cutscenes that are like the actual characters walking around and stuff, and it's like, man, this looks like really good, but also probably pretty expensive. So I kind of get it. But it does this great like fade in where the kind of distance effects takes on this kind of like pastel like drawn look to it, like thick drawn lines on all the colors and stuff, and then it kind of fades in as you get close to it. It's a great looking game. Not a lot of color in it. You know, I wish there was more. There's a lot of like browns in it. It's like in that same kind of 360 video game era. Like there's a lot of deserty kind of aesthetic for.
Well, hold on. That actually might be another reason for why they don't do the full stand-ins.
I mean, like,
given I'm just taking a look at it, and it's given the medium, it could be do they do the what's it called? Are they very expressive in the cutouts?
Not really, no.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Sometimes, but not really.
Because it could be one of those things where if they're extremely expressive in the cutouts, it might be extremely difficult to run that across the 3D models.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's always like my first thought, but no, it's more of like it's basically their version of the like anime cutout from like a Persona game, but they don't necessarily do anything fun with it. They do have like a messaging system that is like a brain link is what they call it, because you're just like sending, in this future everyone's connected with their brains, so you're just thinking messages hard at somebody and sending them with your brain. I don't know how it works, but you can like do replies and stuff back to that, so they have a little fun there, but again, nothing like fun and expressive. But overall, you know, like, it's a great game. It's not an amazing game, I'll say that, but it is a great game, and I'm glad I played it. It was a cool, weird thing. You know, it like gets into like some near shit. Like, I'm not gonna like try and oversell it to you, Nabeshin. I don't think you would like it or play it, but like, or anyone out there, I'm not gonna say like if you're like a Nier fan and you're expecting like the highfalutin art that Nier is here to provide, like, you're not gonna get it out of this. But it does. It gets into some of that, and it like. In the same way that Nier is cool because it's a JRPG that's like trying to do some weird shit, like this, and it's trying to do some artsy shit, like whether you're into that or not, you know, it's gonna hit or it's gonna not, you know. In the same way, Scarlet Nexus is like, we're gonna try some shit here, and either you're gonna be into it or you're not. And I ended up being like really into it. I was very surprised. Other video games that I played, I started playing Trails of Cold Steel. That was the game I mentioned with the embarrassing anime scene where a man clearly accidentally, for some no apparent reason, had to fall on a girl, and she was very upset about it. Understandably, but like, why do we have to make a big deal about this in all anime video games, you guys? But that was the video game that was in question. Outside of that, kind of weird part of that, the beginning of that game, I finally like sank some time into it. I'm like 30 hours into it. Which is like, I think I'm in chapter 4. I think if I had to take a guess, there are probably 7 chapters. I don't know for sure, but if I had to take a guess, that's what I'd say. I feel like I'm kind of getting into the thick of it. I think I'll probably talk about that game more once I've finished it, because everything else here I've kind of finished or at least is fresh. But so far so good. I'm actually really enjoying it. It reminds me more because Scott White has been on here. He's the one that really wants me to play these games, and I'm into them. But very easy to draw a Persona comparison because you're at a school, you're like building up bonds with with your classmates. You're even like investigating a thing that changes every month. But it like feels more like Valkyria Chronicles. Like that's the vibe I think they're going for more.
That was the vibe I got for the most part as well. Every time I looked at it, or even when I tried the demo of 3, I believe it was just like there's even more Valkyria Chronicles than does Persona, but it was just like quickie, so I wasn't really completely sure.
Yeah, just because like there's a lot of political stuff going on and a lot of militaristic stuff going on, like tensions between armies and knowing kind of the different ranking of things, and I think a lot of that stuff it feels very Valkyria to me. It's definitely a mix of the two, but just I want to throw that out there. I finished Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. The thing I would say about Ratchet & Clank, I really enjoyed my time with it. I platinumed it. I played way more of challenge mode than I thought I would, just because I was having a lot of fun. But I would say like that game did not exceed my expectations. It just kind of met them.
That's kind of where I feel right now. I'm not too much more farther in than the last time we talked, but it does feel like a game that is very good. But I can understand someone saying like, "Oh, it's more Ratchet and Clank," where I would say like A Crack in Time was like more beyond that, mostly because like how separated it was. Like playing with Ratchet felt completely different than playing as Clank. Type of situation. So like when going from Ratchet and Rivet is like mostly the same thing. You only get like a sprinkle of, like Clank in. I forget the other one's name.
KT.
So like that's my one critique about it. But like I don't think it does Crack in Time as well. But like I still think it's a very, very spectacular video game.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's like worth your time for sure. It's just like at this point I kind of just expect such a supreme bar of quality for Ratchet & Clank, and this hits that. It's hard. It'd be hard to do that with the way the Ratchet & Clank games, we're not like really shaking it up from game to game. It'd be hard to like, I think, blow that out unless they did stuff like completely different. But it is.
Can you give me like one somewhat spoiler?
Just anything from the game?
No, I just wanted to know.
Oh yeah, a specific one. Yeah, go. What do you want to know?
Do we get the Lawrence payoff or not?
We do get the Lawrence payoff.
Is the word okay? Lawrence was mentioned.
It's in the credits though, so you would probably be disappointed. I'll say that much.
Okay. All right.
But it was heartwarming for me.
Okay.
He doesn't like you don't get the vocal Lawrence payoff. I'll say it's just a visual thing.
Okay.
That I feel the need to specify.
All right. Cool.
But I will say like I love the the moment you're kind of waiting for in the whole final third of that final act of that game for somebody to show up. When that happens and everything after that, I was having a great time. I was like very happy with that. It was just like the fact that it's like, yeah, this is like just a great one of these. And what a weird, great place to be in, but I'll take it. I will say like I was thinking while I was playing it of like, man, I feel like the best Ratchet & Clank games have it where after you beat it in challenge mode, you can level up all the guns 5 more times, and this game does have that. So I think like that's like some of the most fun. Like if you're into like maxing out all the weapons, like for real.
Yeah.
You get a whole 5 more levels with everything. Everything gets like a new name and a new look, as well. And then like it hits its Omega form at level 10. So it's like, okay, you know what? Like that makes like at some point I might go back and like max out all the levels and do that. You don't have to for the platinum though, which is fun.
Okay. Quick question.
Yeah.
Because you said like, oh, this is a great another one of these, and like which is like a good critique. But like I'm curious, like how would you compare something like this to, let's say, Sly 4?
It's funny because I played Sly 4 recently, so I was thinking about this at the time. Like, I actually think like Sly 4 does a lot of cool, out there, weird stuff, and it's very different than Sly 3, right? Where there's like this is very much, it's very similar to A Crack in Time,
Mm-hmm.
It's not like reinventing the formula. A side dash and a wall run doesn't necessarily reinvent the wheel. Whereas
Right.
like Sly 4, I think like changes a lot. Like new enemy types and new the way all the other Coopers work. You have new playable characters that feel different. I think like that's always the quintessential thing in those games. And here you have new characters, but they don't play differently. And I think that maybe that's where the crux of my disappointment is. It'd be cooler if they played differently.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, it's good. The story's good. Rivet and Kit are cool. Not Kit. It's not KT. It's Kit. I also been playing Skyward Sword HD. That came out. That's out now. You can play Skyward Sword with button controls.
Did you get that fucking amiibo?
I didn't. No, I don't. I didn't even. I wasn't even like.
And why even bother playing it?
I know.
Man?
It's what a waste of a game.
I know.
I will say, like, I was thinking about it, like, while I was playing, of like, man, because I already wanted to grind like some materials to like level up my little beetle buddy. And it's like I could just warp right back to fucking Skyloft right now if I had a goddamn little piece of plastic right here. Motherfuckers. But
You heard about that, right, Scott?
Do you know about this, Scott?
Know about which portion?
In Skyward Sword HD, there's an amiibo, a Loftwing amiibo. It's Zelda and her blue Loftwing. And if you have this amiibo, and only if you have this amiibo, you can instantly travel from the surface to Skyloft.
We talked about this.
We did talk about it. Okay, yeah. I think
I was wondering if you were talking about. Did I know about Skyward Sword HD? Yes. Did I know about the amiibo thing? Yes. And there was also this.
We talked about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Absurd. But yeah, so I've been playing it. I will say it's weird, right? Because it's still Skyward Sword, and I still have a lot of problems with Skyward Sword. But it is.
How are you playing it, by the way?
I'm playing with a Pro controller, chilling out
Okay.
on my TV. Absolutely not fucking around with my. I was like actively thinking about how much my wrist. It was like throbbing from like phantom pain from like remembering this game almost. But yeah, I sitting there playing it. The quality of life stuff goes a long way. I'll say it feels like way more like a breezy game. Like the big things are, no item descriptions every fucking time you turn off the game, and you can skip through dialogue. And I would say like, Matt, you couldn't like be through dialogue in this game before. Like playing it now and knowing that, I'm like, I don't know how I fucking play this game. Like there's so much talking and it's like takes so long. Anyway,
I am curious because I know you're a man who like it gets himself wrapped into the experience.
Sure, yeah.
Like how much are you skipping the dialogue? If you are,
I'm not. I'm just like reading it and like going through it quickly. Like I've been playing a lot of JRPGs lately, so I've been doing that a lot. So I'm like in a good spot, and if there's one thing I could do, crippled to my bed for the last few months or whatever, it's like maybe get a little bit faster at reading. That's been a personal goal of mine. So like it just feels like I'm moving more at like my own pace versus like this pace that this game very much dictates for you. But also, right. I would say 30% of Fi's interruptions are now optional. Or maybe 40%, because she still like comes up to let you know about a couple of things when there's a new dousing option, but she doesn't make you douse now. And like just like her it doesn't constantly bing like Fi wants you to douse right here. You should be dousing this whole time. Like it's not doing that all the time. It's just like it feels like they kind of took the person that's like looming over saying like you should do this and take a break every 15 minutes, like they took that person out of the game. That's what it feels like. And it just, with that gone, it just feels like I can kind of like walk around and explore and just do stuff at my own pace. And that makes Skyward Sword feel a little bit more fun, I'll say. But also like right now I'm in the desert, so I'm in the third area for the first time. But like I got to the first dungeon in like less than 5 hours. I feel like the first time I played this game, it took me like 11 hours just because I was walking around talking to people and how long that was taking. And I just felt like, man, I'm like moving through this like I know I'm gonna be coming back here, so like I know I don't need to be wasting time like just walking around because I'm gonna fucking explore every goddamn inch of this desert. I promise, this game will make sure I don't miss anything because everything you're gonna come back everywhere 3 times. So like, I having that mindset and being able to just kind of move, like all right, I'm done talking to you. All right, I know I have to do. I don't need to douse right now, and go through it is really nice. Feels good. And plus, like 60 FPS, 1080p, looks great. Just really, really nice.
This is like a general question for you. I guess like because I'm not too hooked up onto it anymore.
Sure.
But like, is the discourse of this game now currently on the interwebs with the people who play these games, are like, is it more of like this edition of the game like fixes a problem, or is it more of like, because like the one of the things I did when the reviews went out is like I went to IGN's review, because they famously gave that game a 10 out of 10, different reviewer, different time. So like I just wanted to see
same
like,
to be honest, but
to see like the discourse of it, is to see like his certain complaints about it, and like the main complaint about it was it's like, oh, he didn't like how finicky like the newer control scheme was. So, but other than that, it's still the same game, and he left the game for that. And I was like, oh, that's interesting, and like, and I like that approach of it, because like I said, it's a different reviewer, but like it's more of like getting his take and how he feels about it. And he loves the game. It's just that he just didn't like
does this game have problems outside of the problems everybody knows about? I think exactly. I think so. I really do. I think like Skyward Sword is just not as interesting of a Zelda game. But like going through it, it's just like the environments are all so intricately designed like a dungeon, and which is cool, and it makes that first time you go through the environment seem like you're kind of like unraveling something, but then like when you like take that step back, it's like this doesn't feel practical and this feels weird, and like it's still like you have to go up here and then run up a log and then run up a wall and then climb a ledge and get up here. Like that is still like now the shortcut to you going through like this whole fucking obstacle course of a lake area, like, and it's just like, so when you're walking through the environment, it all just feels kind of like, it's like the Final Fantasy 13 effect, but if it was a Zelda game of like, it's a straight line, but like occasionally you have to push a block and climb up a ledge and do a thing and hit a crystal. It kind of has like that vibe, and because of that, like all the dungeons I think are just like really super uninteresting. I'm now I've done the first 2, and like the second dungeon is basically like one big room where you roll around, where the whole thing is you get on a ball and you like tilt the Wii stick. Back in the day, again, I'm not fucking playing it this way. You tilt a Wii stick to have Link like balance himself on a ball, and he rolls around on a ball through a big lava pit, and he like hits switches throughout this big room. Like that's like the whole fucking dungeon, and it's super lame, I think, especially knowing like the whole conceit of it was that you had to like fucking just hurt your, like my wrist is already hurting just doing it for 3 seconds here, just like hold the Wii stick straight up and move Link around like that. Like that was like what you had to do for the whole thing, and that was like the thing. Like that was the attraction here, was that you were using Wii Motion Plus in this weird way. Now when I play it here, like with new controls, I'm just using left analog stick to make Link walk around and just kind of get around the environment, and then it's over. It's just like you can see like so much more thought was put into like the fact that this was a novel thing that you were doing versus it being an interesting thing that you were doing. That's how I feel about it.
Okay.
Coming back later. But there are cool, like, there's still really cool parts in this game that are like more well constructed, like the ship, which is like the 4th dungeon. Like it's a big boat on the sea that's like, it's on a sand sea that's turning into an ocean because of the time crystals around it, and you're like shooting like a bell through like different parts of the ship to change it. Like that's a cool dungeon. But like that of all of them in this game, like that's probably the one that I remember, and it's the only one. So yeah, I think like this, because like this game feels like it's like in a tight corridor because they had to make it so contracted because you were playing it in this really not fun way or like this really bulky way. it just makes the rest of the game less interesting, in my opinion. And my opinion on it has changed. I used to feel the opposite of that. This is how I feel now. It's okay.
Right.
It's okay that people's opinions change. In a long time, I will say, like, I'm enjoying it more now, like being able to like walk around again, not feeling like somebody's telling me what to do all the time, and like feel like I'm actually exploring the environment and interacting with like the little puzzles that they kind of lay out in the environment for you to interact with, and that is more fun. And I think there's some more fun things to do throughout the world that are easier to enjoy when someone's not yelling at you to do them in a certain way every time.
So do you feel, minus the actual pain that you're having with it, but do you feel in a way that this is kind of like me and Scott with the world to be type of situation where it's like, oh, you're taking away the thing that like makes the game interesting, so you shouldn't play that version. You should just go back to the old version, just play that version. Just in your opinion, I'm just curious.
No, because like I don't think it was a good interesting that the Wii remote added to it. And I will say, like, it is weird playing it because now you're playing on a controller. It does feel like it is a game that is missing something, because it is like, now I'm just playing a 3D Zelda game with weirdly precise like sword controls, like, and that's like the only thing about it. It's like, all right, well, okay, but like it is like that's kind of all Skyward Sword is. It's just a 3D Zelda game with weirdly precise sword controls. Like, it's not actually, I don't think, anything more than that. And like, I don't think it ever pretends to be, but I also think like there's not a doubt in my mind that
it's an origin game, so like,
yeah, it's allowed to get weird, and that's where you can lean into the sword stuff. But like you're using those controls when you're balancing on that dumb boulder, but you're also using them every time you're flying the loft wing around. And I dreaded the loft wing segments when you're flying around the sky, because like it was so like terrible. It just controlled so poorly of like, trying to needle nose your fucking Wii Remote Plus, making it like trying to look directly and then aim down to make it dive and then aim up, like, and all that's gone. And now I'm like, honestly, the flying around the sky, it's like a jolly time. I'm like smiling, I'm enjoying the music, it's not triggering me anymore. I'm just like, I'm my wrist is like panging somewhere in the past. But so like I think, plus you can play the other way if you want. So I think, yes, you should absolutely play this version for like the not seeing item descriptions, for like all of the quality of life things. I think if there was any modern possibility for you to enjoy Skyward Sword, it would be through this version. And I think you should give it a shot. Like, give the motion control version of it a shot first. I do think that. And like, at the end of the day, now you have the option of like, well, I don't want to play like this anymore. But I do want to keep playing this video game, so I'm going to just switch over, and that's good. Or you can be like, well, I don't want to play like this, and I never want to play like this ever again, and then switch over and still keep playing. And then at the very least, see Skyward Sword through the end for like the cool story and the fun time travel bits and Zelda and Link and like all the good things that are in there. So yeah, play this version. It's good. It is better. It's demonstrably better while not being great. The only other things I played outside of that this week are, I played like 3.5 hours of No Man's Sky. I was like, I'm going to see if I can fucking do something in this game. I want to make a base. I want to name a planet. I want to do something just so I could say I've tried No Man's Sky. And I did. I did all those things. And I might go back to it. I don't know. I wrote it down as like one of my sub things. I want to play more of it. It's a lot of like, it's talking about like a bulky kind of getting around stuff in that game, but there's cool stuff there. There's like a whole hub world now. It's crazy. The game is very different than the first time I played it. And then the only other thing is I finally did Grandmaster Nightfall in Destiny. And for point of reference, I won't talk about this Destiny too long, I promise. But there's a few different pieces of like actual like top tier, highest difficulty end game content, right? You get your end game content of like raids and dungeons and stuff, and like that is like you're gonna need a group, and it's harder stuff, more intricate. But then there's like the challenge versions of those things, and there's like a version of that across all modes. So it's like Legend raids, I believe is what they're called. So those are all like very difficult versions of the raids. Grandmaster Nightfalls, and then Trials of Osiris would be like the PvP equivalent, which is still, it's not like impossibly difficult, but you have to deal with people when you do that. So Grandmaster Nightfalls are basically like every notch is ticked up on Nightfalls. It is like the most like you have to be working with your fire team, all firing on enemies at a time, fighting champions, which are these like really powerful health regen enemies that you have to deal with specific mods to your weapons and stuff. So I finally there was like a challenge to do it for like this armor event that is going on right now. So I was like, I want to do this. I'm finally high enough power level to do it. You can't even participate if you are not like 15 power level below what you need to be, or 25 below what you need to be. I finally grinded enough to be there. So like Jake and Mike Burgess and I finally sat down and just did it. And we actually did 2. We completed 2. It was really fun. I was really surprised at how much fun it ended up being. I was worried it was going to be like kind of a slog, but it was really fun. And that helps by having people that know what they're doing and have done it before. But I had a great time. And it's cool, another little Destiny checkbox of like kind of engaging in that really, really hard stuff and like having to play that game in a totally different way. But happy I did it. 'Tis done. Nabeshin, did you play any video games?
Not as much as you would think.
Sure.
There's like bits and pieces of stuff here and there. Like Ratchet and Clank is still something that we already discussed that I'm getting through right now.
Do you know where you are in that game? Just for my curiosity.
I think I actually am going to get the Dimension Eater now with Ratchet.
Okay.
I just had the Kit join me. Like I saw like
God,
her
so now
when
you have to
she's
like go build it.
Yes. She's joined me with Ratchet, and now I can play with her with me as Ratchet. Not the when you first introduce her, like you see her why she went to where she was at, and now she's now we're at the next area to like actually get the Dimensionator.
Yep. Cool. I like that level. That's one of my favorite ones, honestly.
Mm-hmm. But that's mainly been it. Been kicking away time to do with Mass Effect 2. I haven't really had the time to play it. Like I usually play those games, but like that game's been really good. Going back to it again, still all the good stuff from the Legendary Edition. They did get all the kudos for.
Have you done any of the DLC in Mass Effect 2? Do you have any of like the ones that you kind of do along the way?
No, I usually do it like in a certain type of way. Like Kasumi would probably be the first one I would do, and then like I would do the other ones. And then like Shadow Broker's always Shadow Broker, and then his Arrival is the very, very last things I do. Just because I just like the flow of that.
I actually did Arrival.
Like early?
Yeah, I did it early this time. I was like trying to think of like, how did I do it and what did I do differently? I like had a moment where like my brain died. Yeah, I did it like I accidentally launched it because I thought it was Shadow Broker, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So I did it before you beat the game, which was the first time I had done that. Which doesn't make a lot of sense.
Oh, I guess we're just gonna keep going.
Admiral Hackett's like, we're gonna have to deal with this at some point, but you go deal with this shit too. I'm like, you got it, dude. I'll be on it.
Mm.
God, I want you to know, Nabeshin, and maybe it's like just that you and I are such close friends, and we obviously rub off of each other in some ways. But the urge that I have had since beating Mass Effect to just start Mass Effect over again has been unbearable. I've been like desperately trying to start other long video games so I don't do that, because it's like I know it's not going to be quite as satisfying as it just was.
Mm-hmm.
I feel you.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
I feel you.
Yeah.
Devastated. Still devastated. Absolutely distraught about it. Yeah, I'm not even kidding. It's just like really been thinking about it a lot. I'm like, man, I miss all my space friends.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really it.
Yeah, for sure.
But I can't really think of anything else really, like as far as stuff I've been playing, like like somewhat Ninja Gaiden.
Oh
The
yeah,
collection.
that collection came out.
Mm-hmm.
Is that just
Um,
is 1 and 2 or 1, 2, and 3?
1, 2, and 3. Um, so I just been playing one, and like it's basically what you know from like Ninja Gaiden Sigma from PlayStation 3.
Mm-hmm.
Just like upgraded 4K and 60 frames, like stuck on 60 frames this time. Not like the Vita version that like was like 15 sometimes. But like
Shout out to the Vita version of that game.
that was the first game I ever noticed frame rate, or like it like impacted my gameplay. It was
Yeah.
like it was that game. I was like, oh wow, I can't play this game.
Once you're like, oh, I can see each individual iframe. You're like, all right,
Mhm.
maybe this should be better.
Yeah. But yeah, it's been fun playing those games. Again, I'm still only on the first one, but like, as an involved gamer now from like what I was, I guess you would say from 10 years ago or whatever. Um, like the camera's finally become an issue for me. Like it never really been an issue for me before. Now it's becoming an issue
Yeah.
as far as like,
All that
that's
Bayonetta play, you're like, this isn't
yeah.
acceptable anymore.
Yeah, that's like a notorious thing with Ninja Gaiden. But like, it's like, oh, whatever you talk about, man, it's still good. And it's just like now it's becoming an issue, and it's really just because like that game is built around like being around a close corridor. So like, when you're trying to like do actiony stuff and like jump off a wall and like hit a dude at the same time, and then like is gonna drop them down type of stuff. It gets kind of challenging when like you can't see what the hell you're doing, and like especially me now, because like the one complaint I have in like video games ever, like my biggest like pet peeve is like if I can't see shit. Like if I can't see what I'm doing, then like I get really,
I
really
know
upset.
this about you, yeah. I'm
Yeah.
in a
So
similar way of like, I just can't do anything. Like, what do you want me to do?
yeah, it was like the one game that really like put me over the edge with that was like Wolfenstein: The New Order.
Yes.
That at the very end, like I couldn't see anything, and like it just frustrated me the hell in that game. I couldn't see anything at the end of the game when you do the final boss fight. I think it was raining at the same time, and
Yeah.
like you're fighting this big mecha thing, but I couldn't see him, and like it bothered the hell
Yeah,
out
that
of me.
boss is bad.
Yeah.
Not like
Oh,
surprising anybody with that take though. People who like that
yeah.
game don't like that boss.
Yeah. Um. But yeah, like Ninja Gaiden's still great. I still want them to make another one, so hopefully they'll eventually get around to doing that. But other than that, I can't really think of anything, dude.
Have you
Like
been
occasion.
anything?
Hmm?
You mentioned like what you were excited for earlier. Anything that's bubbling to the?
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that's what I'm here for,
I played
man.
yeah, thank you. I played
Yeah,
the demo. Yeah, I played the demo for Neo: The End of the World with you. Mostly because like I wanted to like give Scott a primer of like what that game is, because like we like the World's Review for specific reasons.
hmm
Um and like thankfully in the demo, like it gives you like a good chunk of like how the systems are in that game. And thankfully it's actually really fun. Like you can still like be level 1 through the entire game if you want to. You just have to like manually just do it, and that's fine. You can also raise up the difficulty. They couldn't really do that in the demo, but you can do that in that game, so that in the main game, so that's good to know as well. Um, like the pin stuff is still there. As far as like doing multiple attacks at the same time, it's like every like is more like every party member is like a button. So
Yeah.
like one guy is like you're doing projectiles, and like another guy you could have slicing, and another guy you could have charging the attacks. So, like you would like hold L3 or L2, sorry, hold L2 while like spamming like square to like shoot him with something, and then like eventually like switch to like triangle to like do like slashing attacks, and like let go of R2 to like L2 to like do like a charge attack at somebody. So like it's just really fun and really engaging, and like it's super fun.
It's fun.
Um
Like Scarlet Nexus is kind of like in a similar way because you're like you're holding R2 to like grab an object with psychokinesis while you're hitting the face buttons to like do combo attacks, then release R2 to like jump back and throw your object, and then you hit the action button again to get back into the fray of it. So
mhm.
it's cool. It like I will say to Scarlet Nexus's credit, like I've said before, like really cool combat stuff that you can do in that game. So that sounds like a similar deal with Neo and The World Ends With You. So that's cool.
Mhm. But yeah, like it has me excited. Like Not that I was like dreading it or like thinking it was gonna be bad or anything like that, but it was like mostly just like the battle system mode. Like I was like,
Unknown
really just
quantity, What do you do?
yeah,
Right.
that was a new thing, and I was wondering if I would even like remotely even like it. And like I generally enjoy it. It's different. It's not the same as what it used to be, but it's still good for what it is. I feel.
Yeah, sounds cool.
Yeah, because the whole issue with morphing what the game used to be into the different versions so people could experience it was that they changed what made it how it used to be special, and with the new game, it doesn't. It probably shouldn't be how it used to be,
Yeah,
Exactly.
which is the split screen mode. So they can do,
Whatever they want.
yeah, exactly whatever they want and make a new thing out of it.
yeah,
Hmm.
and reimagine like what made the previous thing cool in a new way
Hmm.
that is like
Mhm.
built from the ground up for what you're seeing, not like kind of cops for something else. Yeah,
Exactly.
it sounds cool. I'm like really curious like how that game's gonna receive with people who like that first game, just because like we're in that era now. I think we're gonna start getting a lot of like kind of delayed sequel, as Roger Picorni would call it, where we're maybe games that got remastered recently, or we're gonna see a sequel, kind of like the Valkyria Chronicles 4. I feel like we're gonna see more of like those types of things. Neo: The World Ends With You is absolutely one of those things. Like Shin Megami Tensei 5, in a weird way, is another one of those. Although that was probably always in the cards. I feel like this is definitely like renewed interest in The World Ends With You. Exciting, very cool. I just hope the people that dug that game are gonna dig this. So
Mhm.
that's what
But
July 27th, is that the release date for that?
yeah, whatever. Yeah, it's
Sometime
like a
toward
week
the
from
end of
now.
the month for
Yeah.
Switch and PS4. So
Mhm. Yeah,
look
so
out for it,
that's that.
Scott.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited. I hope you guys dig it.
Hmm. I think that's mostly it, man. Like I can't really like think of anything in particular. You know, like co-op games, with the GF, but like other than that, nothing really going on.
Cool. What about you, Scott? Any video games you've been playing?
The Tarkov life, and that's about it.
Just living the Tarkov life. All right.
Yeah. We're on the tail end of it. Into so it's gonna be it's gonna be easing up quite a lot. Pretty much after today.
Okay.
So, and then we have some stuff coming out pretty soon. So I'll have some more a little later.
Okay.
But,
I'm excited.
Yeah, we've talked quite a bit about Tarkov. Nothing too much to write home about this wipe. What made last wipe weird is no longer a thing.
Yeah.
So other than that, now they have a good baseline to judge it on.
Cool. I'm excited. Have you been playing with Tony as well, I assume?
Yeah. So I guess the one big thing that they did is they wanted to test out opening up the flea market from instead of being at level 10 to extend it to level 20.
Sure.
And it extended the early game by about a week.
Okay.
So
Drew things
that's
out a little
good.
bit more.
That's a good thing, but it doesn't add the sense of permanence that they want to it.
Yeah.
Alone.
It's gonna be weird to think of that game like without wipes and resets and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure they'll figure out a way.
I have heard that they're going to run a main type of loadout or server setup.
Okay.
Where it's just permanent, and then they're going to probably run seasonal content as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. Just do seasons. People have solved this problem,
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, I look forward to the day that Tarkov finally is 1.0. Let's talk about some headlines then. Some new stuff happened in the video games world. Finally, Nintendo was like, hey, that other Switch you guys have been wondering about, here it is. It's not what you thought. This isn't what you thought, but we just need to talk about it. There's an OLED Switch that is just a Switch with an OLED. But the dock also does have a LAN port now, so very exciting times. It is $50 more expensive than the Switch was, and it's coming out in October. Please, everyone, line up. A lot of people were upset that this is not the Switch Pro. Maybe Switch Pro is still coming. Just have to wait and see. Chips, man. You got to find a chip in order to make a machine, and not a lot of chips. Everybody's eating all these chips. They just want all the chips for themselves. I don't know if you had heard about this, Scott, but there's another Switch. But it doesn't really matter. It's just another Switch.
Yeah, the OLED Switch.
Yeah, the OLED. Yeah, everyone knows about the OLED. I love it. Nintendo will never not just delight me every time they just drop a trailer for a piece of hardware, whether it's like, a light or a revision or whatever, a small thing. But they just drop the trailer on Twitter on a Tuesday, and then they just say nothing else about it. It's just the most powerful move I could ever imagine, and Nintendo's done it like 3 times now. I might get one of these.
I could skip on it. The screen itself doesn't bother me the way that it is.
Yeah.
I would like a LAN port on mine, but at the same time, I don't care that much.
Yeah, you don't play it in dock mode.
I could be patient.
It's only a LAN port on the dock. It's not on the Switch itself.
Right, but I do still stick my Switch right next to the router whenever.
Oh, it's true. Yeah.
I have a whole different charging setup and whatnot when I go to download something.
Yeah. I have that launch Switch. I've been, it has that OG battery life and all that, so it has since been revised at least a little bit. So this seems nice. I might end up getting this for myself. I'm going to wait and see if we kind of hear any rumblings about what Nintendo is doing hardware-wise next year. If they're really just not going to put out anything probably until 2 years from now, that's fine. I will wait, but I'll probably grab this. In also OLED Switch news, Steam was like, hey, we got one of those. And they were like, here's the Steam Deck, which is announced.
Steam Deck.
Not your dad's deck. This is a different deck. This is the Steam Deck. All the hubbub kind of happened on this. The specs are out there. If you want to get it, you have to wait until late into 2022 or whatever. It was just fun watching people kind of react to this. It was kind of announced, and it's like, all right, and pre-orders are going to be tomorrow.
Like if this was me like a year ago, like
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, like totally, but like it's like nah, I'm good.
Yeah, it's like I'm good. I got enough consoles.
And basically,
what my thinking is like, I feel, it's kind of encroaching on like the gaming laptop game, right? It's kind of slipping in there, but B, if like one, I at some point I'm gonna buy Scott's PC. It's even if it's not for a little while, I'm gonna get just a desktop PC that I'm gonna have. And 2, the portable thing about the Switch is really not the appeal for me. I feel like if you are really into like portable and handheld stuff, like this is a definitely, I can see the appeal of this. I just I'm not. And I'm like fully over it at this point. Like I play everything on my TV. I don't want to play anything on little screens, unless I have to. In which case, I'm okay just having one thing to do that. I don't need to get another.
And then it's while it's somewhat access to Steam games portably, and in effectively a console version, I haven't looked into it enough to say that it's the PC experience you would want with why you would pick the PC to play those games in the first place.
Yeah, and I don't think it is. And they're talking about stuff like uploading your mod settings and all that to this, like the Steam integration, just having that. So if you're playing a game on your PC with all your mods, all your mods can be preset into a game on your Steam Deck or whatever, and all the benefits of having an ecosystem. I think this thing is cool and great, and I'm glad that somebody's making it, and I can't wait to see what people think about it. It's very much like the one where I'm good not testing the first one of these. I love new tech stuff, and I love to be the guy that tests the new stuff of these, especially when it comes to video game consoles and next PlayStation. I'll be there day one. I'll talk all this shit about Sony all day, but I'll be there. This is and maybe because it's just a PC thing. This is one of the ones where I'm all right, let's see what people think about it. If it ends up being a really cool thing, I'm sure they'll make another one.
Yeah, I mean that's more or less where I was with VR, and I still kind of am. So it'll eventually happen. It's just not happening right now.
Yeah, I can't wait till people get their hands on this. I just like if it ends up being really cool, that is a good thing, I'm sure. But like the battery life is like 2 to 8 hours, and I'm like, yeah, I bet like you're running something at 60 FPS on that thing, and you're burning through that battery life. It just looks
and I think
so much like a Game Gear. I can't get over it.
and I think the biggest thing about it is like you are 1,000% not missing out on anything for having it or getting it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like and you know that's a good reason to wait. And like I mean, sure you're missing out, I guess, the experience of a new thing, but like other than that,
it does sound great. Like there's tons of early access like roguelikes and stuff. It's like, man, this would be a great machine just to play all those on. Like just basically any indie early access game that like is only on PC that I've wanted to give a shot for like ages and ages and ages. It would be perfect on this, I think, just because it's going to be small. It's not going to burn the battery life real quick. Although, you know, this thing is saying it can run control or whatever, 60 FPS or whatever. But yeah, it just, like you said, you're not like I have access. There's nothing on here that I can only get on here. So I have access to all of these things everywhere else. I shouldn't get another thing, especially when I pre-ordered that goddamn Switch. and like I redid like my whole home setup and stuff. But I look pretty nice. How do you think I look right now, Nabeshin? Do I look very if I do like a real hard zoom on myself right now, do I look very HD? That's why it was worth it so that I could do that, you know what I mean?
You're right.
But yeah, so I've spent a lot of money recently anyway, and outside of that in the news, there was another PlayStation State of Play. Nobody cared about it because it wasn't very good. But we got. Did you watch this, Nabeshin?
I caught it late, and then it's like, no one's talking about it because, like, you know, I was working at the time, and then it was like, wait, am I missing anything really? And it's like, apparently, I wasn't at all. But like, you know, it was what it was. So like, because like, Deathloop wasn't even really my thing still to begin with. So like,
I'm very excited for Deathloop. I was already excited for Deathloop, but I'm like more because I replayed Dishonored relatively recently for your point of reference. Nabeshin, I finally I texted you telling you I finally played Death of the Outsider. That's right. I remember, like, for some reason that was like a hanging thread in my head to you, like you needed to know what I felt about that game. But you know, I'll say Death of the Outsider. It's on Game Pass right now, so you should go play it for that reason. But it's got FPS boost on the series consoles as well, so you can play it at 60 FPS, which is not how I played it. Because they added that like the week after I finished it, which is a bummer, but it's fine. Still a great game. Not as good as Dishonored 2. So like I recently played through Dishonored 1, 2, and Death of the Outsider, and it's like, man, I would love to just hang out more levels designed just like this, and that seems exactly like what Deathloop is. I just wonder if there's like I know what a hokey thing to say, but like I wonder if there's like a non-violent way to play it. Like they haven't showed any of that in any of the gameplay presentations at all. I'm sure they've probably talked about it, but I don't read interviews that often. So
right.
I wonder. I'm sure like you have to kill the main targets, but I wonder if there's like in Dishonored where you can do like some horrific non-violent way to take care of them. Like send them off to the coal mines to be forgotten about for 20 years or whatever. So we'll see. I'm excited about it. But there were some other updates in that, like Sifu, which is this cool martial arts indie game, got delayed till 2022, stuff like that. Death Stranding Director's Cut is coming, I think, like September 24th. And I also texted
something like that. Yeah.
I texted Nabeshin about that within the last couple of weeks because, like, for some reason, the like chakras of the universe aligned. It's like I really want to play Death Stranding right now. It's like, of course they like. I want to play it right when I have to wait to play it, and by the time it comes out, I'll be playing like 6 other things. So, but I don't know if you want to play Death Stranding at 60 FPS on PS5, it's happening soon. And then the only other thing was a little rumor millville. That there's gonna be EA event, EA Play, I think is what they call them, on July 27th.
I completely forgot about EA Play.
Like, who blames you, dude? Like, nobody blames you for that at all. I've had to like actively remind myself that it's still happening.
Right.
I think it's on the 27th of July. It's somewhere toward the end of the month. I don't even know the date for sure, but there's a rumor that one of the like brand new games that they're going to be announcing there is a remake of the original Dead Space. And there was word that it could be like a remaster of Dead Space 1, 2, and 3. But I think that kind of like changed to like this being like more of a remake and or spiritual successor. I'd love to see that, just because Dead Space, the first Dead Space and Dead Space 2, although not as good as the first Dead Space, but Dead Space 1, one of the best horror video games ever made. Incredible video game. So thankful. It's another like weird game that Scott introduced to me. Irrevocably changed the course of my life. It's Demon Souls, Dead Space, and League of Legends. What a terrible three. But yeah, if they're like redoing that kind of idea, or just remaking it all together and new graphics, up to date, 2021, 2022, I'm here for it. I'm excited.
Is it? Because I never played Dead Space 1, so I'm like,
Sure.
I'm thinking like,
It still kind of holds up is the thing. Like, that's the only kind of trepidation here is like, you can still probably play Dead Space 1 and have like a great time.
yeah, because like there was a silent person. Isaac didn't talk in that game.
Yep.
I know that, and like the HUD thing was interesting
Yep.
as far as like there was no HUD, and just like just the visor was your everything, or your suit was everything that
Yeah,
you
the
needed to see.
rig, inventory and everything was all real time and all that.
I guess my question is, in a weird way, since you said it's a remake, it's like, does it need to be remade, or should it just be like, I guess remastered in a way, kind of like how people are feeling about Resident Evil 4, I guess, in the same way.
Sure,
Weirdly enough,
I guess I'm taking this as this will be a reboot, where it'll be a remake of the first one that is also like different. Maybe
Final Fantasy 7.
maybe not quite that meta, like metatextual to itself, but I think more of like Dead Space 2 and 3 kind of added a lot of baggage to Dead Space, whereas I think if you kind of reimagine the first game and get a new launching off point, more kind of like the Ratchet and Clank remake, the 2016. Like, that's one thing where it's like half old, half new. Where like obviously all the the puzzles and stuff are going to be refresh and new, but you're still in the Ishimura. It's still like some of the same areas that you're going through. Some of the kind of iconic moments are still there and preserved, but everything is kind of rebuilt around it. That's what I was thinking. But you know, this is still just a rumor if this game exists. It could just be like, I also like going off of how vague, like it sounded like they weren't sure where this was going to end up going. Like this could end up being like it doesn't say Dead Space, but it is Dead Space, right? Like it doesn't like not in name exactly of like morbid space,
right?
Like you know, like something like that. Of like, oh, this is like a spiritual successor as opposed to a direct sequel. I could also see that.
I guess my only question is like them continuing on from this, because I would imagine it would be a success.
I hope so.
So like, yeah, so like when they do a Dead Space 2, it will like, what is that? Not because I would doubt it'd be Dead Space 2 again.
I think that it depends on where they're going with this one. Like if the reimagining and like the different direction is them like going more lore heavy and exploring more of like the marker and stuff like that. There's plenty of like dumb subtitles you can pull out through there.
Okay.
Dead Space Origins could also be a name for this. You know, something like that.
All right. Here's the bet, Alex O'Neill.
Yeah.
Will they make Isaac speak in this game?
Will it still be Isaac Clarke?
Mm.
I would say yes, he's going to talk. Because he talked in Dead Space 2 and 3. So if they redid it, I imagine they're just going to make him talk.
Okay.
But you don't think he will?
I mean, like, I totally think it will. Because, like, I don't know, like, that just seems like something where it's like, so protagonists aren't a thing anymore. So, like, we got to, like, have somebody speak to you as the audience. And hopefully they won't be too Nathan Drakey, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
God, could you imagine that? Making, like, a Nathan Drake-esque Isaac Clarke?
But, like, that's kind of Dead Space 3, dude. Like, let me tell you about Dead Space 3.
I was going to ask you that, actually, because I never played those games. So
Dead Space 3 is co-op, so he's, like, talking to a person the whole time, you know?
Right.
is kind of like a back and forth. It is more of like an army of two almost situation. Not that broy, for sure, not that broy, but like what was cool about like Isaac Carver is the other character. Heaven knows how I remember that fucker's name. I can't remember the name of like a person I met 3 days ago, but I can remember Carver from when I played this game in 2013 with Jacob Bryant. But what's cool is like Carver is obviously like it's his first exposure to the marker, so he's like starting to hallucinate and see crazy shit. Like that was the whole hook of the game,
right?
And how that manifested is like these Nutcracker statuettes, like full on Christmas style, the Nutcracker sweet nutcrackers, like would be all over the fucking environment, and Isaac just wouldn't see them. Super creepy. But yeah, so I don't know. Dead Space 3. I like that game, but it is not like it doesn't have the things that make Dead Space Dead Space. It's just kind of a fun co-op action game. It's kind of more that is. You fight people in Dead Space 3. I think a better bet would be, would you fight people in Dead Space reboot? I don't think so, though. I don't think they would make that mistake again.
Do you feel this will be another Mirror's Edge situation where it's like people ask for this and then they're getting it and then it's like, oh, actually we didn't want this after all type of thing?
I don't think so, just because I think Dead Space is far richer a video game. I think, in my opinion, I know a lot of people like Mirror's Edge, but I think the core conceit of that game was its simplicity and that being satisfying. So I think replicating that, again, is way harder than, like, a kind of more general, complex third-person action game that can or cannot be good. And depending on the levels of execution, you get a 9 or a 10 or whatever. I think just making a sequel to Mirror's Edge is a lot harder than making another Dead Space. Like you can make scares and do a marker and make a cool ship that you go through and have set pieces throughout that. And honestly, like it's been long enough that I think that'll still feel really fresh.
Yeah, and to be fair to Mirror's Edge, like that was like a game that was like completely different and like was doing something new for the time.
Yeah,
being like a first-person parkour game. And like I remember like the thing about everybody was like, man, she shouldn't have guns in this game, and like, okay, we'll make a sequel to that, and then we reboot the series, and like she won't use guns. Like, well, now it's just not as good anymore, or if it was ever good, or type of thing. And it's like like Dead Space is just like a reimagining of like one of the greatest games of all time type of thing. So like I think it has more legs to stand on, and there's a bigger fan base obviously for Dead Space more than there is for Mirror's Edge. Yeah. But like it's interesting with EA though, like how they take their successes and like kind of forget about them, and then they try to just remake them and just do it again, because they're doing that with Skate, and they're kind of doing that with Mass Effect as well.
They're doing that with Battlefield 2042. They've done that game before, like
this
is the first time they're doing that. They'll eventually do that with Battlefield Bad Company, I'm sure.
That's the one, right? That's the last one, right?
Yeah. I mean,
why is it always like there's always like the one?
Mass Effect, man. Like they did what they said they never would.
Yeah. Wow. There's always like a one. The one thing that like, why haven't you done this yet? Type of thing. Like Microsoft right now is like, it's kind of like bringing back KI or Banjo Kazooie. It's like, why isn't there a new Banjo game? Why isn't there a new KI game? Or
I respect talking about Mirror's Edge. Like I respect it in the context of like some of these games are hard to make sequels to though. Like it is hard to make a new Banjo Kazooie game like the old ones. Just imagine or I should say just as much as it is hard to make Psychonauts 2. Like that is a hard game to make. It's hard to make 3D platformer, sell it for $60 and have it be worth it, but they're doing it, and Game Pass lets them do that, there was a way, and they found the way, and like more people are going to play it. I don't know how many people with a PS4 or PS5 are going to pay the $60 to get Psychonauts over there, but hopefully some, because I think those games are cool, and there's so few of them now. Like we went from so many third-person platformers to none. They're gone now. They're all gone. So yeah.
To be fair, like if there's any year to do it, it'll be this year because of Ratchet and Clank.
For sure.
Yeah. So that'll
pave the way.
I will imagine those people will be attracted to something like Psychonauts too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can't blame them, because the first game. I feel like if you modernize that in a way of just make it feel a little smoother, is still a great game. And that's why, like, if you're going to play Psychonauts 1, just play it on PC, because that's basically what it is.
Yeah. It's, just from my recollection, because I know it's coming to 4, but is it coming to 5 at all?
Psychonauts?
Yeah.
I think it is. I don't know that for
backwards
sure.
compatibility, sure, but like,
yeah,
I have a 5 version. Like,
yeah. I mean, but
I mean that wasn't like a goal on Fig, so I just like maybe not.
yeah, I'm sure there's a Googleable answer to this. I don't know how much of the Series X version is like a Series X version also, which is
Sure.
a lot of the cases with some of the first party Series X games. Sometimes there's a big difference, like Gears 5, for example.
Mm-hmm. It does not say 5.
Cool, just the PS4 version.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Jal will get it. I imagine it might have like a performance thing, like a tick, like some awareness of PS5 compatibility, like a lot of PS5 games. Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to potentially play another Dead Space. I told Damien, I told my roommate, I'm like, listen, if they do this, I'll save this one. I'll play this one blind with you. Because he's always like griefing me for like, why don't you ever wait to play a video game with me for the first time? I'm like, I play a lot of video games.
Really?
I play a lot of video games, man. Like, I'm playing them at 3 o'clock in the morning. You're sleeping, going to work every day, dude. We are in different time waves. And I was like, all right, I'll find one and I'll save it and we'll play it together. And this seems like a good fit. So I think that's it. I think this is a podcast. I don't think I miss any other news stories. There wasn't a lot going on. I mean, we're in the heats of the summers. Just people angry that the Switch Pro may or may not exist, and we just gotta wait and figure that out, just like everything else. Weird year. That's the podcast. So if you want to be a part of it, I did not ask for questions this week, but I usually do. I'm usually more on top of that. But if you'd like to be a part of the show, you can email mailsack at irrationalpassion.com, tweet at irrationalpod, IPQ. We'll get it. Don't worry. We've reached the end of the show, which means it's time for bets. Nabeshin, you're going to be in for Tony, I think. Tony's winning, so
okay.
It really only makes sense. And if Tony wants to veto your bet, that's fine. It's his prerogative.
He will. No, man. It's the Nabeshin way. I have to
I have to take it. I get it, Tony. So this week's bet. How long will the completionist time for howlongtobeat.com for Neo The World Ends With You be by the next time we record, which is going to be August 7th. So like 3 weeks from now, the game comes out in a week.
To beat the game or to 100% it?
100%, so the completionist score.
Holy shit, okay.
I imagine there's probably only going to be a couple inputs here, so I don't know, though. That's the thing. Like, I really have absolutely... That's what makes this bet so fun. Like, could be 100 hours, could be 20 hours, could be... It's probably not 20 hours.
The thing about it is because of the difficulty slider, it changes the answer, right? Because it's the difficulty slider is it affects not only how fast you level things up, but it also affects how obtainable some items are.
Yeah.
So, if I remember correctly, it's faster to level things up when the difficulty slider is high, but you allow leveling. It's easier to get items when the difficulty slider is high, but your level is like at 1 permanently.
That's still the thing. Yep.
So, yeah. And the reason it's easier to level things up when you have your levels all the way up instead of all the way down, it's that even though you have more experience, it just takes too much time to actually get through each fight.
Sure. But what you're not saying is an hour count right now, Scott. How long to complete this fucking game? Take a shot in the dark. We're all guessing here. This is
60 hours.
60 hours. I like it.
I was at 52.
I said 72. We'll see. There's no science here. It's just madness. Last episode's bet, what will the difference in install size... We modified this, but what will the total install size for the Series X version of A Plague Tale Innocence be? I said 38 gigabytes. Scott said 50. Tony said 69. Nice. The number was 42 gigabytes, which means I won my second bet, I think. Yep.
Nice.
Nice. So my score is now 2, Scott is 5, and Tony is 6. That's how it's going, Nabeshin. It's going well for me. But that's it. That's the end of the show. Episode 500 in the bag. Just another normal one. Having a good time with the boys. Sorry you couldn't be here, Tony. I'm sure he's probably getting a nice nap in. I'm sure he's very grateful for the sleep. So, as him and I both know, sleeping sometimes is hard. So I feel for him. Thanks for coming on, Nabeshin. It's good to have you on a couple episodes in a row. I imagine it might be a little bit.
I'm glad to do a full episode this time. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it was all right. We started late. I knew I had a lot to say about Final Fantasy VII. No, always a joy to have you around. Always good to talk games with you. Thanks for 500 episodes, Scott. It's been fun, man.
No problem.
I got you, dude.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah, it has been. Happy to keep doing it, even if it's not quite as frequently. But thanks everyone who's listened and has listened before, has listened since, is still listening now. We very much appreciate it. My mom listens frequently. She tells me she doesn't understand a lot of the games we talk about, but she likes hearing my voice. And I'm like, thanks, Mom. That's very sweet of you. But yeah, anyone that has come on and visited the show, listened to us, we obviously appreciate the time. Just a couple of friends talking about video games. And with that, that's been the show. Thank you, Danny Wiesner, for opening music of Two Player Co-op, closing music of The World is Saved. Thank you to Evan, to Scott, to Nabeshin, to Joe, to Tony, to Greg. We love you all very much. Big hugs all the way around. I've been Alex Neal. Play your games. Stay rational. We will talk to you all in 3 weeks. Titles? There's no titles. I didn't write any titles.
Yeah.
This is it. Tony wanted it. This is the death of the titles bit. Titles are over now. Episode 500. Nobody wins.
There you go.
Hold on.
That might have been a title though.
Hold on.
Nobody wins.
No, not nobody wins.
I got you, Scott. There's some writing happening in the Google Doc for folks listening at home.
There we go.
The
It's
death
episode
of titles.
500. The death of titles.
Can we all say it together? Like we're like, you know, it's like some kind of funeral march. All right. You're listening.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, that's fine.
I'm really honest with you. I don't think so.
I'll get Tony to record the death of titles. After it feels weird to kill the bit that Tony's like, this is the one. Remember when it was back in the day? It was like, this is the one thing that I do. You don't get to come in here. I gotta find that rant that he went on. Not like a serious. It wasn't serious, obviously. You're listening to the Irrational Passions podcast, episode 500. And now there's just going to be nothing after that. We're going to just do that, roll it right up at the end. I guess I could just start doing that at the beginning of the podcast just to make the editing track line easier. Anyway, I'm going to stop recording.